Hey everybody, I'm hanging out at Earthshaking Music with Scott. In case you don't know him, I'm sure a lot of you have seen him around town. He's a sound engineer for a lot of venues around in Atlanta, some including Drunken Unicorn and Lenny's. How's it going, man?
I'm very good, thank you.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on Musician's Voice. Scott, how did you get into a recording?
Well, I got into recording kind of. I was always that guy in the bands that I was in that had a computer and that was interested in it. It always seems like musicians kind of fall in two categories: people who really like being in the studio and like doing the recording thing, and the people who really despise it. And for some reason, I was always in bands with people who really didn't like to record. So I got to be the guy who took care of the technical side and stuff like that. And so it just kind of grew out of that. My work here kind of began with I just needed a place to record and kind of set up some space here to record, and just kind of grew into something that's a little bit that became kind of a public thing. It was just my space for a little bit, and then kind of grew into offering the services to customers and stuff like that. So,
Is there any venues, sound words, if you want to talk about that you like over others as far as how the venues rig for sound? Or is some easier to work than others, about the same?
I have the interesting experience of working in some very difficult spaces. Lenny's and the East Side Lounge, all those are kind of strange. Not they were never really designed to be live music venues, so it's challenging. I think that's part of the fun is the challenge. So probably of all the places that I work at with any sort of regularity, the Unicorn's probably the easiest of them because they actually did a pretty good job laying out the place, and they have good equipment and all that stuff. But I actually kind of like the challenge of working in some non-traditional spaces and stuff like that, and trying to make it happen with what I got. I think that's one of the really fun aspects of doing live sound is that, you know, it's time restricted and you just kind of have to make things work, and you have to rig stuff up sometimes. There's lots of gaff tape and, you know, fun. So
For musicians out there who've been recording in the studio, we know about that tape there. Is there any bands around town you want to talk about that you've actually recorded demos for and albums for?
Yeah, we've done a couple of records here at Earthshaking for friends and stuff like that. Band called Hanna-Barbarian. We're just finished up their record. I don't know where they're at with that. I think they're duplicating right now. And then have done really interesting stuff. Like the first thing we did here was a South American Andean folk band, which is really cool. We've done a CD for a band called King Richard's Sunday Best. That's one of the very coolest things that I've done in a little while. A real non-traditional band, cello and kind of weird percussion and stuff like that. But then I've worked with a whole bunch of bands doing live sound in town that I really love. Royal Thunder, big fans of them. What Happened to My Fire Tiger, huge fans of those guys.
They have a show, I understand, coming up pretty soon. You have 2 shows coming up.
What Happened to Your Fire Tiger? Yeah, they're playing tonight. Actually, tonight at East Side. Yeah,
East Side Lounge.
Check that out. Yeah.
You gonna be doing sound for them tonight?
No. Jonathan, who also works here, is going to be doing sound for them. I'll just be there enjoying. That's always fun. I don't often go out to clubs since I work at one, so it kind of takes a lot to pull me to just go see a club show. But big fans of theirs, and I'll go out and just hang out tonight.
Let me ask you this: as long as you've been doing sound or recording, is there one style of music you prefer recording over other, or do you overall like doing it all like on the same level?
That's a good question. I've actually had to be pretty flexible here because our customer base is really broad, and so our client base here is really broad. So I've done things from old-timey country to South American Andean folk stuff to metal to punk to kind of indescribable pop music and stuff like that. I'd say that more than anything, that is what I like. The fact that, you know, every day I go in the studio, I don't even know what to expect sometimes. It's just it's like, just get ready. And maybe that just comes from my live sound background. I like the kind of seat of the pants kind of thing that we do here. So.
Hey, you fill us in on trade secrets on any technique you had to use as out of the ordinary to make a sound work in the studio? As you're talking earlier about some of these venues weren't rigged for sound. Maybe you're in a sound booth somewhere trying to make something happen. You had some weird rig that you were like, man, what was I thinking?
Yeah, I'd say the best, some of my best moments in kind of strange rigging were building mic stands out of broken bits of guitar stands and beer bottles and gaff tape and yeah. That's been fun stuff. But as far as tricks and stuff to working with difficult rooms, I'd say probably the one thing that I think a lot of people don't think about in a difficult room is phase. And I won't talk long about that because that's kind of a big subject. But most people just throw speakers in a room and then that's it. But a lot it has to be when you have more than a couple of speakers. You kind of really have to think a lot about that, and that's what makes difficult rooms difficult, especially with inexpensive PA equipment and stuff like that. It can be a big deal with sound arriving from certain spots at different times and kind of makes the sound real uneven throughout the room and stuff like that. That's probably, when I'm working in a difficult room like Lenny's or something like that. Those are the things that I kind of have to address and make sure that all the mics are in good phase relationship and all that stuff. So.
All right, man. Well, thank you for coming on and talking to us here.
Absolutely.
And we'll hear more from him in the future. Thanks again for coming on Musician's Voice.